Welcome into NFL Daily. I am Tom Downey, and we are back live once again here on the channel for our normal Tuesday live show. As always, we will make sure everyone has a chance to click that notification and tune in by asking some questions on today's show. First up, should the Minnesota Vikings trade away Kirk Cousins? Minnesota has begun the year 0-3. Historically speaking, that's not a good sign for their playoff chances. Now, trading away Kirk to a team like, I don't know, the Jets, for example, would be punting on your season, would not send a great message, but would allow you to tank. Because I'll tell you what, even with Justin Jefferson out there, Nick Mullins ain't going to win you anything. Jaron Hall's not going to win you anything. You could bottom out and get a cheap young quarterback on a very affordable deal that's a premier prospect. Whether that's, Caleb Williams, Drake May, whoever. If you can really bottom out, take that 1 year of bad and get your next franchise guy for the next 10-plus years. Not how NFL teams tend to operate because it sets them up for potentially getting fired. But it'd be a smart move. It'd be a smart decision, I think, by Minnesota. So sound off in the comments and at the pinned poll of today's video. Shamari Peoples says yes. Chualor says no. XD Gamer says no. Scotty says yes. One Nation Underground says T. Higgins and a draft pick for Justin Jefferson. Well, the Vikings aren't doing that. And I will. It'd be fun. Burrow, Chase Jefferson. It's not going to happen. Vote for this one, folks. Should the Vikings trade Kirk Cousins? Y for yes, N for no. I like the idea about him on the Jets. That Jets team is like, they're a championship caliber roster with a first overall pick quarterback. And not like actual first overall pick, but like he's going to get you to the number one overall pick if he's a normal talent around him. I like it. Y for yes, N for no in the comments. Let's go to our next question here. Will Justin Fields be a franchise quarterback for the Chicago Bears? 1 for yes, 2 for no. We might check in on this a lot this year because I was kind of hoping that with all the drama and the stuff that went on around Chicago, they'd get to play football on Sunday and they'd rally and play well, and they got embarrassed again. Not the most embarrassing result this week. It was probably 6th on the list. We'll actually have that list for you guys today based on spreads. Oh, boy. That was bad. I feel for Bears fans. There was understandable excitement, and that has been sapped out of the organization in 3 games. It's brutal. It's really brutal. Like, it's all gone. It wasn't even 3. It was 2. The GM had a midweek emergency press conference in week 3 after 2 games. That's so bad. All right, 2, some Chualor, Larry Fort, Jim Panson, Hank S., XD Gamer, Chris Ashford. Scotty says no. Davin Storm is talking with XD Gamer what happened with the Jags. We'll spend some time on it. If you're not a Jags fan, because you're mad about it, objectively hilarious outcome in that game. Like, the way they lost that football game was just a comedy of errors. Like, they kind of, like, to summarize it, the reason why they lost in that game, a big reason why, there are multiple, don't get me wrong. Cal really has the yips, apparently. It's really, really weird. They kind of, like, mishit a kick. It wasn't great. It went to the fullback / tight end, Andrew Beck, who fumbled it, picked it up, and ran for a touchdown. Because it was a fumble, so everyone left their lanes to go with the football, and he just ran around everybody and scored. It was ridiculous. It should never happen. It was just a unbelievable outcome in a week that actually had several of them, quite frankly. Today's show is made possible by Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. It is just you against the numbers. You're not battling thousands of other players and the pros and the sharks. You just pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. You can make your pick, submit an entry in less than 60 seconds, and turn $10 into $250 with just a few taps. More than for Christian McCaffrey this week against the Cardinals. I like more than for Josh Jacobs, more than for Justin Jefferson, and less than for Ryan Tannehill because that Bengals defense is really, really good. You'll notice there on the bottom, you can do either the flex play or the power play. Basically, the power play is all of them have to hit. The flex play is, 3 of the 4 have to hit to come out on top with some winnings. So go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. The link will be in the comments and in the description of today's show. Again, that is prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. That link, again, and the promo code CLNS are going to be in the comments section and the description of today's show. Davin Storm says, how about them Raiders? Well, that's our next question. What should the Raiders do with Josh McDaniels here? What should F for fire, K for keep? Like, I have opinions. I know my boy Mitchell Ren's opinions. I think many of you agree. The decision, not once but twice technically, to kick a field goal down by 8 late in the fourth quarter is undefendable. You do not, he's like, well, you needed 2 shots at it. No, you didn't. You go score, get the 2-point try, you tie. You go score, you don't get it, you need the ball back. Kick the field goal, make it, need the ball back. Kick the field goal, miss it, need the ball back still. Undefensible. To put this in perspective, since the 2-point conversion was adopted in 1994, the Las Vegas Raiders are the only NFL football team to attempt a field goal in the last 3 minutes of the fourth quarter, down by exactly 8 points with less than 5 yards to go for a first down or a touchdown. They are the first team to ever do what Josh McDaniels did. That is an embarrassment. And by the way, he doubled/tripled down on Monday, saying I wouldn't change my decision. What are you doing? You have an entire staff of people who can be like, hey, this should be your decision. There's no arguing field goal was the right answer. It's like 2 + 2 = 4. Not doing any funny math out there. It's 4, all right? What it is. Like, unbelievable failure by Josh McDaniels, which continues the unbelievableness of his career. It's been the exact same guy he was in Denver. Weird decisions, weird personnel moves. None of it makes sense. I have no faith in McDaniels right now. What would you guys do? F for fire, K for keep, Chua Lore, Shamari, One Nation, Lucky King, Chris Ashford, Cameron after the season. I mean, you keep tanking. Actually, might make some sense. They can maybe look into Caleb Williams, Drake May, whoever. F or K in the comment section. We will talk more trades since we've got barely a month to go until this year's NFL trade deadline. So will the Colts trade Jonathan Taylor? Y for yes, N for no. Sound off for me in the comment section right now with your predictions. I think there's a decent chance that they do. I think we'll see how it all plays out, but I am unconvinced this is going to be a Colts team that says that they're going to work it out with Jonathan Taylor. Now, they have to lower their asking price. If the Ravens come calling and the Colts say, we want Zay Flowers, you're not having a real conversation. You're not. Packers come calling again and they say, we want Christian Watson, you're not going to get anywhere. You have to be realistic in your trade asks. It's also hilarious to ask for a premium young wide receiver like Jalen Waddle for a running back who you refuse to pay, at least don't want to pay right now. That doesn't make any sense. That's ridiculous. Yes or no in the comment section. Shualor says yes. One Nation Underground says maybe, which I suppose is technically correct, but maybe not the most accurate there. XD Gamer says yes. GM Evan Hinder says yes to the Steelers. Interesting. Trade Najee back, I assume. Not the worst from that perspective. Brian says Atlanta. If Atlanta didn't have Bijan Robinson, maybe, but I doubt they're going to give up the asset. Even if you send Algier back, like I don't think it's viable there. Y for yes, N for, or wait a minute. Maybe Brian Forrest just said 2. Maybe he's talking about Kirk Cousins there. That would make more sense. Great time to remind everybody, make sure you click live. If you don't click live, you run the risk of getting caught on. I'm going to go with Brian Forrest is talking about somebody else. That makes way more sense than Taylor, now that I think about with the wife comment too. So I'm going to go with that one there. All right, our goal is simple today. 50% like rate on the live stream. We're at 95 right now. We will round it down ever so slightly to make the math easier to 45 likes right now on today's show. It's only the diehards who tune in on a random Tuesday, or not a random, but every Tuesday afternoon to talk NFL. You know, there's work and nightlife and other things you have to take care of. So it's only the diehards right now, which means you almost always watch it and you like the show. So like the video. It allows us to continue to grow here at Chat Sports. Keep the literal lights on around the studio. Do our live watch parties. We had Red Zone this week. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Some look-in coverage I think you guys mostly enjoyed with my guy Marshy. So if you haven't already, I'm asking you guys once again to like today's video. Our goal pretty much always is that 50% like rate. Normally leads to pretty good results. So it's free, it's simple, it's easy to do. Like that video if you haven't already done so. Here's what's coming up on today's show. We have the latest NFL news and rumors. I got some thoughts on the big stories plus injury news across the NFL this week. I got 5 different blockbuster trade ideas. I think they're fun. They probably won't happen, but they're entertaining at least. I think the value is pretty fair too. A mailbag. So get your questions in via hashtag NFL or by super chatting to skip the line altogether on today's show. And we will do a 2024 NFL mock draft based on our power rankings orders. So I think we'll have some fun on that front. If you haven't already, please make sure you like the video and enjoy today's live show. Let's talk trades now on Kirk Cousins. There are some growing, rumors, ideas, theories, whatever we want to call it from that perspective, about what Minnesota could potentially do with their at least current franchise quarterback. He's in the last year of his deal. I actually think it makes a lot of sense for Kirk Cousins to go to the New York Jets, who once tried to sign him and desperately wish they would have landed him because their franchise would have been in much better shape than what they've been going through the past couple of years, including but not limited to the 4 snaps of Aaron Rodgers, right? Trading Kirk Cousins, however, for Minnesota would be giving up on the season. Now, I've long felt that Kirk Cousins is an underrated NFL quarterback. I think he gets treated sometimes like he's terrible, which I think in large part is due to we see him in prime time, and he's normally not very good in prime time, but he's actually been pretty darn good this season. Already at past the 1,000-yard mark. He's averaging well over 300 yards per game. Now, the ending for him against the Chargers was, it's not necessarily fair, but it has followed him around for a while. They had the chance. They got the football down by 4 points at the 24, and he throws the red zone interception. The check down in the playoff game, which didn't really make any sense. They came up short against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in a game in which, again, Minnesota went 3 and out with 5 minutes to go, but the defense couldn't get a stop, so, that's kind of is what it is there. But he's not a bad quarterback. On this Jets football team, I think they would be a legitimate, at minimum, playoff contender. If not, hey, you can make a real run in a loaded AFC. Because that Jets roster overall is very good. It's a top 5-ish team not including the quarterback. The problem is there's no worse starting quarterback in the NFL right now than Zach Wilson. Nobody's worse. He doesn't look confident. He's not comfortable. He's been a problem. Honestly, outside of a couple nice plays to Garrett Wilson, the offense has not functioned, period. It's a massive liability for what really amounts to 3 full starts for Zach Wilson here. 4 snaps, you know. The Jets, if they want to take advantage of their current window, they can't ride with Zach Wilson. And honestly, if they do, at minimum, the GM's going to get fired. Maybe the head coach, who I like, but maybe he just goes to be a DC somewhere. You can't ride with Wilson. This team in New York is really, really good. The quarterback isn't. The quarterback is going to sink this team. As for the Vikings, sinking the team might not actually be a bad idea for the short term. They're 0-3, and those teams pretty much never make the playoffs. So what I would do, if you want to take the longer view, even though I like Kirk Cousins, but you have an opportunity to bottom out, go get a young guy. Go get Caleb Williams, Drake May, whoever. Lose a bunch of football games. It's a bad look. The fans are going to be mad. The players are going to be pissed. It puts you on the hot seat in a year or 2, if not sooner. But you don't have Kirk Cousins locked up under contract next year. He's in the final year of his deal. It'd be different if he had 2 or 3 years left. He only has 1. I think it makes some sense. So what should the Vikings do with Kirk Cousins? Should they trade him? Y for yes, N for no. It is today's pinned comment. So if that ad comes here on YouTube, ignore it. Take advantage of it. Head down there and go vote. All right, some injury news here across the NFL. Derek Carr likely not going to play in Week 4, so it'll be the wee baby Jameis Winston out there at the quarterback spot for the Saints. Sprained AC joint in his shoulder. He'll probably miss some time. It'll be because sometimes the football gods find things funny as far as I'm concerned. It's going to be Jameis Winston heading up against his old team, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Isn't that funny? Derek Carr's old team also with quarterback issues. Jimmy Garoppolo in concussion protocol, which is questionable because Jimmy G played every snap in that football game. So when did the concussion occur? We made a big deal about Tua and the concussion handling there. We should make a big deal here too. I feel like something got missed. It's not great. And speaking of not great, Mike Williams' season, unfortunately, is over. A torn ACL in the Week 3 win for the Los Angeles Chargers. I suspect we'll get to see quite a bit of first-round pick Quentin Johnston moving forward. Now, we'll get to some more takeaways from Week 3, but first, today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. They are the largest independently owned daily fantasy sports platform in North America. They are the easiest and most exciting way to play DFS. It's you against the numbers. You are not battling thousands of other players, including the pros and sharks. You just pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. So here's what I have on tap this week. I actually like the more than for Dak Prescott passing yards. I think it's going to be a bit of a dogfight football game, but the number's very low for Dak Prescott. Like, I would actually argue too low for Prescott, given what he's done over the course of his career. It's 229.5. I love the more than there. Derrick Henry, it is 74.5 rushing yards. I'm taking the less than. This is a very strong Bengals defense, and in most years, that makes sense for Derrick Henry. Like, yeah, he's going to have a big game on the ground. All that's accurate. Derrick Henry has 63 yards, 80 yards, and 20 yards on the ground this year. That's not very good. And I'm going to bank on Calvin Ridley getting over his yips, where he's had some issues of late against his old team revenge game. Give me the more than 65.5 for Derrick Henry. So it's more than Dak Prescott, less than Derrick Henry rushing yards, and more than Calvin Ridley. You can take those bets or just pick your own by going to prizepicks.com/CLNS and using code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Link will be in the comments section and the description. But again, it's prizepicks.com/CLNS and using code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Let's talk then 5 big week 3 stories here. I feel bad. Bears fans, you know what? Maybe tune out for like 2 minutes. I genuinely feel bad for Chicago. Justin Fields has raw talent, has not come through so far this year. The Bears are dealing with the Allen Williams, saga, I'll call it, of there's an investigation. No, there's not. He resigned. Family. No, it wasn't. No one knows what's going on there. And Fields has been bad. I don't think his coaching staff has set him up for success. It's concerning. You have a season for Chicago to figure out if Justin Fields is the guy. It's not even about winning anymore. It's about, can he be your franchise guy? Because if he's not, you're going to have 2 early first-round picks. And one probably has to be a quarterback. So will Justin Fields, with Chicago or elsewhere, be a franchise quarterback? 1 for yes, 2 for no. Sound off in the comments section. This is too funny not to mention there. The Swifties are set to invade the NFL, which is not a bad thing, by the way. I also feel it's very weird for Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce to be in what has to be the most public beginning to a relationship ever, right? It is on full display for everyone to see, which cannot be healthy for a relationship. So best of luck to them. And knowing how the Swifties tend to operate, the Chiefs are now the most popular team in the NFL for now. If they break up, they'll be the most hated team in the NFL. Jersey sales are up 400% for Travis Kelce. Maybe giving them something to burn if it all falls apart. But it's weird. It's noteworthy. It's we'll see. We'll see if there's we saw the Kardashian curse was rare. Is there a Swift curse for the NFL or not? I don't know. We're in uncharted waters. Knowing how they operate, they're going to invent a new football statistic overnight that solves everything. That's what's probably going to happen here. Either way, guys, if you love daily NFL videos, then hit that sub button right now. Free videos that are far more dedicated to football than the Swiftie conversation. Hit that sub button right now. There's no team I enjoy watching more right now than the Miami Dolphins on offense. Mike McDaniel is absolutely in his bag right now. There was this great screenshot from one of my guys who covers one of my buddies who covers the Browns particularly. It's Devon Achane. He's changed pronunciation. I think it's Achane now, not A-Chain. He changed it, or at least asked to go by the proper one, whatever. It's 7 Broncos defenders on the ground, and Devon's running downfield untouched. It was hilarious. 70 freaking points against the Denver Broncos. Denver has a terrible, if I had told you Russell Wilson goes 23 of 38 for 306, a score and an interception, you would have went, did Denver pull the upset? No, they lost by 50. Unbelievable. And they went easy on Denver. They could have dropped 80 if they tried. So this is it's like NCAA 14, and you just know all the cheese plays, and you go for 100. That's what this is. Tua had more touchdowns than incompletions. Devon Achane had 18 carries, 203. Raheem Mostert had 3 scores. Video game numbers. It's scheme, it's execution, it's all of it. Through 3 weeks, no team has been more impressive to me than the Miami Dolphins. All right, now let's go negative here. Josh McDaniels sucks. I am sorry. He's not good at this. So if you weren't paying attention, turn off the game. It was ugly. It was kind of a bad game between Steelers and the Raiders, unless you're a Steelers fan. Or, I guess, Chiefs, Broncos, Chargers fan. The Raiders were down 8 points late in the fourth. They tried not once but twice, and eventually succeeded, to kick a field goal late in the fourth quarter. They got bailed out on one of them because of a flag, gave them a free first down. So the Raiders were down 8 on 4th and 4 from the 8 with 2.5 minutes to go in the football game. And they kicked a field goal, which is perhaps the most indefensible decision in NFL history in that scenario. and I'm not exaggerating. To put this in perspective, since the 2-point conversion was adopted back in 1994, the Raiders are the only NFL team to kick a field goal with 3 minutes to go in the game, down by 8 points, with less than 5 yards to go to get the first down or score. It's literally never been done. And Josh McDaniels on Monday, I made the right decision. No, you didn't. You were objectively and subjectively wrong. He continues to prove in new and creative ways every week he's a bad head coach. So what should the Raiders do with Josh McDaniels? I know what Mitch is typing. He's typing in his F's. I agree. What should the Raiders do with McDaniels? F for fire, K for keep. I wanted to wrap up here with, there were some shocking performances this week. I think a good way to measure this, who played the worst? Well, the Vegas lines are normally a pretty good indication of expectations versus reality. So the worst results relative to the spread, Denver, negative 44 points. It's hilarious. The Commanders were only like 6-point dogs or 5.5-point dogs against the Bills, minus 28.5. Jacksonville with missed field goals and drop touchdowns and fumbles, and Trevor Lawrence keeps making these special throws that are just off by that much in terms of the receiver dragging the foot. They can't make the catch. Minus 27.5 against the Texans. Disaster. The Cowboys, a 23.5-point spread. Jacksonville and Dallas were both favored and got reverse covered. That's really bad. Dallas D couldn't stop a nosebleed on the ground, and the red zone offense was MIA again. Tennessee was minus 20.5. They only scored because the Browns gave them 3 points. I believe this was they ran one play in the red zone all day when they got the ball in the red zone to start, and then were immediately sacked. It's a horrible day for Tennessee. Bad days across the board for all of those teams. So kind of tying into that, who is the biggest fraud, or frauds, if you want to be extra aggressive, in the NFL this year? Let me know. Biggest frauds in the NFL this season. XD Gamer says the Giants. Oof. They've been a big point. I'll tell you what. This is basically a must-win game for the Giants this upcoming week. I thought the schedule makers did them no favors, but they play the Seahawks this week. Monday Night Football. They're not going to win the division. Neither will Seattle. So massive wild card implications. They lose that game, they're 1-3. And then they get the Dolphins and the Bills, both of which are on the road. Then it settles in nicely. Commanders, Jets, Raiders, maybe not the Cowboys. Commanders again, Patriots, Packers, Saints, Eagles, Rams, Eagles. So it gets a little bit easier here, but you lose this one, man, you're staring down the barrel of 1-5, and you probably have maybe 2 losses to play with the rest of the way. That's tough. That is tough. Minnesota, yeah, it's fair. Sean Payton, fair. Food Review says, I don't care that Philly is 3-0. The wins have been sloppy. I think they have been sloppy. Although I think you'd rather have a sloppy win than a sloppy loss like the Cowboys did. So room for growth, but I still think they're going to be a very dangerous team. I think they're still the second best team in the NFC behind the 49ers. Bears are up there. The Broncos gave up 70 points. And Miami made it look easy. That's like the easiest 70 points in ever. Not that there's been, maybe kind of a hard 70, but it wasn't like they were just busted coverage. They were just winning. Not like Denver was we played with 10 men every play. No, they just beat you. The Ravens, I don't know about that one. The Raiders, the refs. Always a good one. Man, there were some bad calls. The Vikings should have lost against the Chargers because Alexander Mattison fumbled, and they ruled forward progress, which is he was and it was hit. It was hit a second fumble, and they ruled forward. Unbelievable, horrible call. There were a lot about. There was a phantom offsides call on a field goal kick that ended up not mattering at all. in the Cowboys-Cardinals game, but, like, they said someone was offsides, and, like, he clearly wasn't. So I don't really know what they were staring at from that perspective. Like, it was very, very strange and very, very weird. A super chat coming in from Rashard Lee. Any O-line injury updates for the Cowboys? None so far. We'll see what that situation looks like. They got a chance. They were down 3 starters on the O-line, by the way, which is really bad. Not many teams win that football game, but Dallas still found a way to beat themselves pretty heavily. I would lean towards maybe at least one being back, but I don't know. We will have to wait and see on that front. Rashard, thank you very much, by the way, for that super chat. We will get into 5 blockbuster NFL trade ideas here momentarily. But first, if you want more free NFL trade deadline coverage, you've come to the right spot. Hit that sub button right now. Let's begin with a quarterback trade. They never really happened, but I got one happening here. How about Kirk Cousins to the New York Jets? I high-key love this idea. And Kirk Cousins, I think, is a bit of an underrated quarterback. He has a tendency to just struggle in prime time. He was good this year, though. Good in prime time this year. Minnesota might be 3-0 if they could literally hold on to the football. They haven't. They've got an unreal amount of fumbles and fumbles lost. Cousins has been good. He's somewhere in that, back end fringe top 10, but like still pretty clearly top 15. That's a good quarterback. And if the Jets had that quarterback, they are a playoff team. That defense is awesome. They have the ground game. The O-line's not that great, I know, but they have a top 5 roster minus the quarterback with the worst starting quarterback in the NFL. Zach Wilson does not have confidence. He still looks like he looks like a golfer who has been told 3 to 4 different things with what he needs to do with his swing, and all of his swing thoughts have merged together, and the result is he's Charles Barkley out there. It just doesn't work. So something has to be done in New York, or that regime might get fired. You can't just say we're good with Zach Wilson and Trevor Siemian and expect to make the playoffs like your roster says you can. I get not wanting to sacrifice your future, and you think Rodgers will be back next year, okay? How about this idea then? Minnesota gets a 3rd-round pick this year and a conditional 3rd-round pick. So more than they would get if, hypothetically, they did not retain Kirk Cousins in NFL free agency, and that condition's tied into, what the Jets do with Cousins in the playoffs and what they do with him contract-wise. So could become more. Like, you could even go with if we win the Super Bowl, you can have our first or something. Like, that's fine. If they miss the playoffs, it's like a 4th or a 5th or something. Like, you can have some flexibility there, and the Jets become a playoff contender, and Minnesota gets to bottom out and go take Drake May, Caleb Williams. It'd be a bad look. They'd be punting on the season. It's not what owners like to do, but Kirk's in the last year of his deal. Only $10 million that the Jets would have to pay him. Maybe you could do some fudging of the money too. I kind of love that idea for both sides. So what should the Vikings do with Kirk Cousins? T for trade him, or K for keep him? It is the pinned comment on today's show. If the ad comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and go vote. Number 2, everyone wants Kyle Pitts. Off the top, it's not going to happen. I get that the Falcons' offense does not utilize him the way he should be utilized, but the offense actually is kind of good when Desmond Ridder is not terrible. It's a quarterback issue right now. But they use 2 tight ends a lot. 3rd-round pick. They will not give him away. If they were to do so, the Chargers would be the most fun fit because they have Gerald Everett. Okay, he's fine. Donald Parham can do some red zone stuff. Okay. You lose Mike Williams. Imagine an offense engineered with Quentin Johnston out there, with Keenan Allen out there, with Kyle Pitts. You can mix in the occasional Josh Palmer. You can still use Gerald Everett. Austin Eckler gets healthy. LA has to go win now, or that GM might get fired. Head coach probably does too. So screw your 1st-round pick. Desperate team theory. First-round pick, backup tight end Trey McKitty, so the Falcons can still utilize those two tight ends set, a former third-round pick out of Georgia. I think the Falcons are not going to shop Kyle Pitts, but if they do, I think there's a long list of teams in the mix, but it's blockbusters. You got to put Kyle Pitts on here, even though, again, I don't think the Falcons would trade him. Today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. It's just you against the numbers. You're not battling thousands of player stat projections or you other pros and sharks. You pick more than or less than on just 2 to 6 player stat projections. You don't have to pick 15 or a full lineup. You can do as few as 2. It's pretty simple there. Here's some of what I'm picking this week on Prize Picks. Give me the more than on Christian McCaffrey, 86.5 yards on the ground. The Cowboys ran the ball great until they got into the red zone, and McCaffrey's just been awesome this year. Give me the more than on Josh Jacobs' touchdowns, rushing, receiving, or even a passing trick play there. That's just 1. The Chargers' run D is terrible. It should happen this week for Josh Jacobs. Give me the more than on Justin Jefferson touchdowns as well. I like Ejiro Evero, but I'm feeling a win for the Vikings, and that's probably going to be a touchdown for JJ. And give me less than. It's only 198.5 on the passing yards for Ryan Tannehill, but Ryan Tannehill and this entire Titans team really just does not look particularly competent this year. And what they've done so far this season was 198 against the Saints, 246 against the Chargers, bad defense, and 104 against the Browns. It's a good Bengals defense. I love the less than on that one. You can also do flex play or power play. The difference there being the flex play only got to hit 3 out of 4. Now, you're not going to get the same return on your or the same value back, but you do the power play, hit all of them, 5x, baby. You can turn $10 into $250 if you do it right on Prize Picks. And they're going to give you a $100 first deposit match, or I should say up to $100 on your first deposit by using code CLNS at prizepicks.com/CLNS. Links in the comments and the description of today's show. You can take my picks or not take them. Have some fun. Boost your game watching experience with Prize Picks. All right, number 3 trade idea, Jonathan Taylor to the Ravens. Taylor, we will see if the Ravens, actually, or the Colts actually have viable trade demands. Like, if they keep it up and go, well, let's see the Ravens. We want Zay Flowers. It's not going to happen. And they asked for Jalen Waddle and Christian Watson, which is ridiculous. Colts, meanwhile, they have a good player in Taylor. And I will say this. I have been very, very impressed with what Shane Steichen has done. I would like to see him with a better option in the ground game, but Indy's still not there yet. So if things are dead between Taylor and the Colts, the Ravens stand out. Justice Hill's been banged up. Gus Edwards has been banged up. It's Melvin Gordon and Kenyon Drake, and those guys stink. So how about a 3rd-round pick? Make it conditional if you want to become to a 2nd. I don't think you're going to get more than that for Jonathan Taylor. I think that's asking a ridiculous cost to make something like that happen. I think the Ravens are a great fit for JT. So in the end, let's say, before the deadline, I should say, will the Colts trade away Jonathan Taylor? Y for yes, N for no. Sound off in the comments section. Number 4, Jerry Jeudy to the New England Patriots. Remember, they were allegedly one of the teams most interested in acquiring Jerry Jeudy when Denver was shopping him last year. Now Denver's 0-3. Judy's entering the final year of his contract. He's off to a fine-ish start so far this season. And I don't mind I don't mind that one at all. He's 8 catches, 106. It's okay. 12 targets. It's not the best, not the worst. He's been a little bit nicked up. But like a trade of that type of player makes sense for Denver. The Patriots have Devontae Parker. This receiving room is just like, it's just a lot of like, eh. And they were force-feeding Demario Douglas at one point this year. Like, they got a lot of like, well, if he's your 3 or 4, I feel great about it. And that's across the board from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, let's get a legit number 1 in there for New England and give Mac Jones some more reliable playmakers. Now, the trade idea, I don't know what receivers are worth in the trade market anymore. It's all very weird and odd and frankly confusing. 2024, second-round pick. It's the Mohamed Sanu trade. I think it makes sense. I do. Put your trade ideas for me in the comments. Any idea you have, somewhat realistic, but have some fun in the process. Number 5, Brian Burns to the Jaguars. This Jags team is still good. Had some bad luck. I'm not out on them. They're close. The big thing they're missing right now has been the play of their pass rush. I liked Caleb on Chasen coming out. He was a developmental piece. He has not developed so far. It has been ugly. He's playing too many snaps. Trayvon Walker's not there yet. They need another viable option. Guess what, folks? Brian Burns, once again on track for a double-digit sack season. Had 12.5 last year when the Panthers allegedly turned down multiple firsts. Now, remember, it was Rams firsts. So it was a future one and a future one, which really equates to like maybe 1 first is what that would have been. Again, that's all alleged there. He's got 3 sacks this year, wants a new contract. Carolina's not paid him it yet. It's a bit awkward right now. Carolina wants to get some assets back. So they have no first rounder this year. They probably should have just traded Burns and kept DJ Moore, but that's, neither here nor there. A first-round pick and a conditional 2025 pick could be as high as a 1 or a 2 or a 3 or a 4 based on how he plays and what the Jags end up doing with his contract long-term. I think Brian Burns in Carolina, along with Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker, now that Jags team has a few more horses to compete on that side of the football. All right, shout out your team for me in the comments section. Get to Richard's super chat here momentarily. But sound off. Favorite team. I will give shout outs here. I see Colts, Chiefs, Cowboys, Titans, Chiefs, Jets, Raiders, Bears, Patriots, Chiefs, Bears, Jets, Raiders. Texas Tech Red Raiders is in there from Food Review. Several Jets in there. Raiders, Cowboys, Niners, just a 69 in there. That's not really a team, but I'll allow it. Giants, Lions, Bucks, Bills, Ravens, Jets, Texans. Texans again, Bills, Bucks, Niners. So a good bit of diversity in today's comment section. I like that. So Shard Lee, a super chat, $2. What about Dak's passing yards? More than, less than 229 on Prize Picks. I've got the more than on Dak. That's a bit lower than what you would normally see from Prescott. I think the Patriots have a great game plan. I love what Bill Belichick does. I think like 250 is a very reasonable number, though, for Prescott. So some of those early season lines still kind of baked in a bit to some fluctuation. I like the more than on Dak. Good question, though, Richard. Thank you. If you have more, get them in right now. Either super chat, like Richard has done so far today, or use hashtag NFL to skip the line altogether. Jump to the front, get your questions answered. If you don't use hashtag NFL, by the way, producer Chris can't find your questions. They just will not come through. They will not pull through. It's not how the software works. They don't get pulled. So it's designed because we ask so many questions throughout the live show. We'll give you guys some time to get them in and get the flow in so they aren't buried. So again, hashtag NFL in the comments section, or simply skip the line altogether via a super chat. A super chat to begin today's live NFL mailbag. Reminder, filmed on our Tuesday live shows. Richard Lee, Any O-line injury update for the Cowboys, we'll know Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We'll have a good feel for it by then. I would say that there's a chance those guys play. Zach Martin, Tyler Biotish, Tyron Smith, all missed week 3, which I think was a bigger deal than what we thought, or what maybe has been made out to be. Like, that's 3 starters you were down there. You missed them clearly in the red zone in particular. They'll be okay long term. I'm not convinced all 3 will play this week. We'll find out what happens. True Allure. How should Brock Purdy clean up his incomplete passes? Purdy's always going to have his, I'll call them Purdyisms, where like every now and then he just goes full reckless gunslinger. It's like, what are you doing, Brock? Like, calm down. Hit your easy throws. There's so many open. I'll make this point too. In general, you're going to miss, whether it's drops, throwaways, whatever, you're going to miss like a quarter of your throws. Like, that happens. You complete 75% of your passes, you're the most accurate quarterback in the NFL. So you're going to miss some. He'll be okay. Shanahan will maximize him, and it'll be, fringe top 10 quarterback results again from Brock Purdy, if not higher than that. A super chat from Lucky King. Everyone spam Lucky King and Rashard Lee in the comments for their supers. Will the Raiders trade Hunter Renfrow? I think they should. They're really not using him, which is kind of wild that Renfrow went from a 1,000-yard receiver before McDaniels came in to afterthought. It's just like, I just don't get it. Like, I get you. You add Adams, you add Myers, and both those guys do well in the slot. So, but you also paid Renfrow. Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. It's all very confusing what this Raiders organization does. I would trade him. Buffalo? I think Josh Allen could use a Hunter Renfrow. It's like, remember Allen was wanted to bring back Cole Beasley, so they did. It's like Cole Beasley upgrade button a few times relative to what the Bills had with what Renfrow I think should still be. Give that easy slot option. Like, they should trade him. He's wasting away as a good player. Makes no sense. Patrick 456. How about Kyler Murray trade to the Jets? Creative. It's technically doable from a contract perspective for the Jets. It's really rough from Arizona. You're getting a bunch of dead money, but you're going to have to there. I think an off-season trade might make more sense timing-wise. Like, Arizona might be winning enough games to not be in the obvious Caleb Williams tank spot come week 7 or 8. So I don't hate it. I also don't know if the Jets want to commit to the next year's salary that they owe. It's fine this year. Next year, it's like, hey, do you want him? Like, can you trade him at that point? Because, like, you can't have Rodgers and Murray if Rodgers is going to be back. It makes it very tough. Short term, it's fine. Long term, it's complicated. So is Kyler Murray the future in Arizona still? It's today's pinned comment, so go vote. Y for yes, N for no. If the ad comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. Mike G. If the Bears lose to the Broncos, is Matt Eberflus done? It's Bears-Broncos and then a tight turnaround against the Commanders on Thursday night. I would be very surprised if the Bears fired Eberflus heading into a Thursday night football game. Remember, you're already down your defensive coordinator. You're going to let Luke Getsy be your interim head coach and play caller, and then your defensive play caller becomes Dave Borgonzi? I'm looking at the staff right now. I don't mind Dave, but he's super young. Like, a 2-year linebacker coach. The timing might be to wait it out no matter what, but the calls to fire him at minimum would be justified if the Bears lose in the toilet bowl against the Denver Broncos. From Mark, Dax owed $10, by the way. Everyone spam Mark. Dax owed $61 million next year. He does have the exact stats. Yeah, Cousins sucks. Dax good. His manager makes a play here and there. Next one, he'd want $50 million. Just not worth it. Too much hype. By the way, like with the way the salary cap's rising, it's also not owed 61. That's the dead money. Like, a little bit deceptive, but neither here nor there in the end. He might get $50 million, but with the way the cap has gone up, kind of doing the exact same deal you just did. There's just the sticker shock there. Also, Kirk Cousins does not suck. Kirk Cousins is a very good NFL quarterback. And you could ask the two teams that could have had him before the Vikings got him, the Jets and the Commanders, if they could have a do-over, would they find a way to get him? Resounding yes from both teams. The Commanders are still looking for a guy, and the Jets are still looking for a guy. You've got that 8, 12, whatever number it is, quarterback. That guy is still very valuable. Now, Odds Are is our sponsor here on today's show. You can make smarter sports bet when you go to oddsr.com/NFL daily. They are not a sports book, but they are the sports betting advisor in your pocket. Download the app, sign up today, and let the latest data analysis guide you through today's point spreads, money lines, and or over-unders. If you see green on the app, that is a smart bet. If you see yellow, you're very much on your own. If you see red, just don't do it. Avoid. Don't go down that path. Bad idea. Bad idea. If you see yellow, make your own guess there. NFL Daily listeners, by the way, have a special deal as well. You can get your first 30 days of the app for free. Just go to oddsr.com/NFL daily to download the app. That's oddsr.com/NFL daily. Lots of routes you guys can go with the green bets. Tends to lead to pretty good results. In fact, we have a super chat from our Cowboy show recently on that exact sponsor. Kevin the Destroyer, the debacle in the desert, says the Odds Are sponsor is amazing. He went like 20-4 on football picks over the weekend. That is incredible. Now, the exact numbers, I'm guessing Kevin didn't take all the same green line values there, is that Odds Are was 20-7 this past week in the NFL and in college football on their green line bets. That is not, it's not just amazing, that is an unbelievable return on your investment. So get 30 days for free and make some money betting on sports. Download oddsr.com today at oddsr.com/NFL daily. Get the app and get yourself 30 days free. GM Evan Hinders says, I think Minnesota will pull Jordan Love and draft Spencer Rattler in the second round. They trade for Trubisky from Pittsburgh and give Rattler the keys the following season. I would rather spend a first-round pick on somebody. Rattler's been better this year at South Carolina, but I don't love him. And I would also make this point. To put this in perspective, by the way, this is kind of hilarious to think about here. Jordan Love, entering this season, 24 years old. Spencer Rattler turns 23 on Thursday. I don't know if you want to give the keys to a 24-year-old first-year player or second-year player. That's a little bit dicey for me. I'd rather go a different route. Also, I don't think Trubisky's very good, but I do think change is coming here at the quarterback spot. Steve H. Will this Texans team start to move some veterans, add more picks to this young team? I thought they should have done that last year, and they didn't. They kept Jerry Hughes for reasons unknown. It didn't make any sense to me. I would like to see them move some veterans and continue to get picks, try it. Picks, try it. Like, they have the best, 40 to 50 in preseason, 40 to 60 roster in the NFL. They were so good there with vets. But why you're rebuilding? Did not make sense to me. From Brett J. Bench Dak after last week. Why? Because of one bad interception? I'm not taking a shot at Brett here, to be clear. But the national media Dak discourse has jumped the shark 2 years ago. None of it's grounded in reality. It's just like, he's terrible. Why? He has 2 playoff wins. Interceptions, okay? But we don't treat him the same. I know what's going to happen this year. Everyone made a big deal over Dak being the number 1 interception guy last season. Ignore the context, the drop passes led to interceptions, the turnover throw rate, all of it. Ignore it all. And you will not be able to say who was the interception leader this year. Who led the NFL in interceptions the year before Dak did, or the year before that? It's just like when Trayvon led the NFL in yards allowed one year. Who did that last year? I know the answer. Does anyone know? Actually a pretty good player, I think. It's a promising young guy. But no one actually knows. Like, you've got this quarterback ranked somewhere 8 to 12 in that general range, but he's, unlike most quarterbacks, he's held to this, like, top 3 standard. You don't have Mahomes. He's not Mahomes. We all know that. He's not that caliber of player. That's okay. Doesn't mean you have a bad quarterback on your hands. There's about a 20-ish teams be like, we would love to have him, please, thank you. Like, I remember there were people like, trade Dak, get a top 3 pick so you can draft Zach Wilson, draft Trey Lance, who funny enough is now on the Cowboys, draft Justin Fields. Didn't work out very well. So rank Dak among, and of course, I have a theory that if you make people rank it, it lands somewhere in the 8 to 12 range, give or take, for the most part. There's always exceptions, right? And, like, that guy is really good. Like, that's the guy you want on your team. And unless you can get Mahomes, if you had a path to getting Caleb Williams that was realistic, well, we could have that conversation. No, you don't. So enjoy your guy. And this goes for Hurts. This borderline goes for Cousins. This goes for Tua, who was also subject to some weird criticism last year. Like, it's all the same. Differing ranks, it's fine. Have top 10 quarterback. Enjoy him. Richard Iacocco, the Bears' #1 fan. I'm sorry. It's been a rough start, Richard. What do you think the Bears should do with Fields? Keep playing him. Let's see, the Bears are in kind of a unique spot. They have 2 potential top 5 picks. So play him. See what happens. Give him the entire season. You're not going to bench him. Can he show growth? Can he be better? Can Luke Getsy get some stuff figured out? Because I think it's Getsy and Fields should be tied at the hip. Getsy can't make it work. He has to go as well. And you bring in a new offensive mind at head coach. You give the keys of the franchise to Mike Kafka. And you say, Mike, here's Caleb Williams. Here's Drake May. Or Getsy, Fields. You guys figured it out. Great job. Let him play for the season and see what happens. Derek, thoughts on this fantasy trade? Send Raheem Mostert and Calvin Ridley for Jahmyr Gibbs and Jalen Waddle. 10-team, 0.5 PPR. I don't hate it. It kind of feels like even-ish. You're selling high on Mostert. You know what? Do it. Do it. Gibbs is going to stay involved as the year goes on. Mostert could be phased out a little bit to a certain extent. You're selling high. Ridley's had the yips. He's good, but Waddle's better. I would do that trade. I like the Gibbs and Waddle side, although it's a pretty even trade overall. If you guys like our mailbags, hit that sub button right now. YouTube.com/chatsportstv. Free videos all season long right here on the channel. Food review is the best trade target for Dallas. One of those older veteran DBs like Patrick Peterson, Marcus Peters, or a young corner like the Jones DBs on the Patriots. I get why you want someone. For those players in particular, Jack Jones, currently battling some, kind of got through the legal issues, but that was an ugly field. Marcus Jones is out for the year. Patrick Peterson, I don't think he has very much left in the tank. He was better against the Raiders, but he's kind of been so far, but Pittsburgh needs him. Marcus Peters is a logical name to consider. I would also say that Peters has even less in the tank. I think you're okay at corner. I don't think those guys are upgrades over Jordan Lewis to Ron Bland. Let's check in again in 2 weeks and make a decision then. Daniel Smith, is Tua going to win NFL MVP? I think he's your betting favorite right now. Dolphins offense is electric so far this season. Who do you think ends up winning NFL MVP? Sound off in the comments section. Who do you think takes home the most valuable player award this season? Tua, somebody else? Let me know. My guy Mark, Dak's solid, but he demanded and got the largest signing bonus and became the highest paid quarterback. He did. And then how many guys beat him? What, tied for 10th right now? That's how the market tends to go. He does get screened with 2 playoff wins surrounded by talent. Also true. My counter to that is, and it's fair if we keep the same energy. But can you imagine the outcry if Dak Prescott blew a 28-3, whatever lead it was for the Chargers-Jags? We all just forgot about it. We just didn't care. It'd be a daily meme. It's not, because it's not the Cowboys quarterback. I think as part of that, he's subject to a lot more, oftentimes, unfair criticism. You know, Kyler Murray got paid and laid the worst playoff game I've seen from an alleged franchise quarterback. Far worse than anything Dak's done. Deshaun Watson threw a pass backwards yesterday, or on Sunday. It was hilarious. It was a really funny play. He blew a huge lead. Like, I love Lamar Jackson. He's a top 5 quarterback for me. But he's had 0 playoff success. The standard isn't equally applied. What I think ends up happening here is, because of the star on his helmet, we apply this top 10 standard to other quarterbacks like Lamar, et cetera, who are all great. I'm not knocking those guys. Herbert, you know. Well, Tua's in that conversation now too, of course. And then Dak gets the Mahomes standard, which he's not. It's just uneven for me. Rashard Lee, favorite NFL memory. Probably going to some Bengals-Cowboys games with my dad. I think that's what I'd go with there. I don't have very many Cowboys playoff memories to lean back on there because I'm not quite that old. All right, who wants a new NFL mock draft? Sound off in the comments. Type your meets. I have one ready to go. I have one. If you guys want it, I have one for you. But do you want it right now? Or should we sign off, head home, whatever? I just saw a stat pop up here. The Bears defense under Matt Eberflus, last in EPA per play, drop back EPA per play, pressure rate with 4-man rush, sacks per game, yards conceded per coverage snap. Yeah. That's not good for Chicago. That was kind of mean. I'm sorry, Bears fans. You've been piled on enough. I'm sorry. I take that back. I'm sorry. Mark, $2. It's the star, and that's not fair, but he's not elite. Whenever we see the not elite, I do want to be like, how are we defining elite? If we're defining elite as like top 5, I would agree. Not elite. Elite's a very dangerous word because it could mean anything. Elite could mean only Mahomes. It could mean only guys with a ring, which is Rodgers and Mahomes. It could mean only MVP guys or a ring, which doesn't really narrow it down that much further. So how are we defining elite? If we're defining it as top 10, I think you have to do the tier system because 1 is not 10, you know? Are we defining it as like 6? Probably not then. No, either. So, like Nick Folk, like Nick Folk does have, or Nick Foles does have a ring. It's a very dangerous game to play. And I always want to clarify, okay, what do we mean with the words we say? Because I do think that matters a lot in terms of any quarterback conversation, especially one with the Cowboys. Romo went through the same thing. Everyone said Romo was not clutch, and he was like 5th when he was active in like comebacks. Like, it just didn't matter. It didn't matter. The narrative was the narrative. And Mark's not doing this, to be clear, but I know big media is. The narrative will always move, and the goalposts will always change. Not just for Dak. I think Lamar's been the victim of this. I think Tua's been the victim of this, and I almost saw it some with Hurts this year, where it was like, Justin Fields is better. And I was like, what are we doing out there? No, stop it. And I thought big media, there's always one quarterback. Always one. Is he, like, this quarterback is the one we're going to tear down to build others up. This guy, he's better than Dak. Like, the benchmark quarterback. There's always one. Normally, it's not a fair conversation. So Mark, definition of elite. A quarterback whose arm is somewhat special and teams somewhat fear. His arm scares no one. He's definitely solid and an excellent manager. So you're looking for the physical traits then, right? You're looking for that howitzer on his arm. I think the decision-making plays into this. I do think, by the way, teams at least somewhat fear Dak. Not because of his legs, not because of his arm strength. The mobility's solid, but he is actually a very accurate passer, relative, again, to the rest of the NFL. So by that definition, I think like your elite quarterbacks, like it kind of cuts off around 5, right? Like you'd probably put Mahomes in there. Not you would put Mahomes in there. You'd put Allen in there. You'd put probably Herbert in there. I think a healthy Burrow you'd probably put in there, but he's not healthy right now. I think Lamar you'd put in there because he's so dynamic with his creative ability, and the arm can kind of come and go right there. I got Herbert, Burrow. Maybe put this version of Tua, I think you'd put in there, where play calling is so good. I love watching McDaniel work, but Tua's delivering very accurate football so far. I'm sure I'm missing somebody. Let me make sure I'm not, because we're at like 5, 6-ish. You know, you're not putting Brock Purdy in there. Good Stafford maybe, but Stafford also tendency to kind of like just collapse all things together. I think you're looking for like a quarterback who overwhelms teams with physical traits. So you're kind of in that top 5 range, which I would agree with. If you want that physical skill set, top 5 guy, yeah. I think Lawrence could also be in that range. He's not there yet if his receivers could catch. I think by the end of the year, we'll put Lawrence in that range. Mark, I appreciate that. A super chat now from Rashard Lee. Imagine if Dak had 4 turnovers like Allen against the Jets. We know what it would be. Now, the claims of Dak's turnover machine have literally never been accurate. And Josh Allen is a great quarterback. And this is kind of like my overarching point. I think it'd be really cool if the way we discussed players was consistent. Like, it's fine for Josh Allen to throw 4 interceptions because he's going to do some awesome stuff. And he's going to lead his team to playoffs, and they'll have success, and they'll be a top 5 scoring offense, which is exactly what Dak was last year. You're talking about a quarterback here who has had a 30 points per game offense the last 3 years with Kellen Moore when healthy. That's awesome. Yes, he threw interceptions. You can't have them. Would you rather have half the interceptions and 25 points or 20 points per game? No. Give me the points. Give me the points. That's my mindset. Lucky King. Should my Raiders start to call other coaches to bring in for an interview? Can't do it till you fire McDaniels. You're not that wrong, my friend. Also, you trade for a cornerback. I think you have to keep your picks. Like, you need a corner. So if you could get like a Jalen Johnson, I'm fine with that to get a premium one, but it has to be a long-term piece if you're going to trade away a draft pick because you need those picks. Mark, there's a huge drop-off between the elites and the next group of quarterbacks, which Dak is in. I do notice receivers constantly make circus catches. Dak doesn't suck. What is let me get the numbers here from just from last year. Because like there absolutely are circus catch throw plays that are made, but there are also times where that's kind of what you have to do. Like if you're going to have success passing the football, sometimes your receivers have to go make plays. So simple metric here, Pro Football Reference, it's publicly available. It's on-target throw percentage, and it's bad throw percentage. Like, Dak was outside the top 10 in qualifying quarterbacks on bad throw percentages. Lamar, Stafford were all top 10. That's actually kind of surprising. On-target percentage. Last year in a down year from Dak, he was 13th out of 33 qualifying quarterbacks. So it's all relative. That's kind of what my job is, to like have no life and watch all these quarterbacks. and figure out who's accurate, who's not accurate. This metric also checks out because dead last in on-target throw percentage was Zach Wilson. So there's a good joke of like if your number's gonna be if your metrics is a good one, like the obvious bad quarterback should be at the bottom and the obvious good quarterback should be at the top. Aaron Rodgers was second in on-target throw percentage. That makes sense, right? Bad throw percentage leader, Geno Smith. Totally tracks from what we saw last year. Last in bad throw percentages, Davis Mills and Zach Wilson. It makes sense. It makes sense, doesn't it? If you guys love the NFL draft, you've come to the right spots. I'm a big fan because, again, I have no life and I'm a very large nerd. So if you want more NFL draft videos and you like it, then like the video right now. It's that simple. As promised, a new 2024 NFL mock. I like doing these early in the year because you get some changes in where teams are drafting, right? So this is based, I will say, on our power rankings order. So I'll put that video link in the comment section, in the description, and you guys can get in there and go complain over there. But it's fun early on this season. The Bears then have the number 1 overall pick. And although I like Justin Fields, if the Bears get the number 1 pick, it has to be a quarterback. And it should be Caleb Williams out of USC. Ideally, with a non-Luke Getsy-led offense, get some new regime pieces in there again, and let's make sure we don't let Caleb Williams bust like some other Bears quarterbacks have done in all of their chances. Denver at 2. It means Russell Wilson didn't get it figured out, and it means you have to draft somebody. I think Sean Payton would love Drake May. Like, Drake May operates a bit more in structure. He can do those middle-of-the-field throws, the strikes. There's been some inconsistencies, sure. There's flashes of, I call it goober football, of like, just be a little bit more normal. Chaos plays. Caleb Williams makes out of structure, too. Drake May can do them in structure sometimes. But I love Drake May. Big fan of his game. If Denver's at 2, unconvinced they'll end there, you got to take the quarterback. No way around it. The Bears at number 3. It's Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison. I love Olu Fashanu, don't get me wrong. But DJ Moore, Marvin Harrison, Caleb May, that team can't be bad anymore if that's your personnel. At that point, it's on the organization to have success. Number 4, Quinn Ewers. Arizona's actually been much more competitive than I thought, but if they end up with the number 4 overall pick, by the way, number 3 was from the Bears, or was from the Panthers for the Bears. If the Cardinals end up at the number 4 overall pick, means the quarterback play just wasn't good enough. So you'll probably want to press reset, or they'll trade down. We'll go quarterback. I love the fit at number 5. How about Shedeur Sanders, Colorado? Unconvinced he'll turn pro, by the way. Makes some sense for him to stay at school. I know Mel called him a top 3 quarterback and future number 1 pick lock, which I thought was a bit of a bait comment there from Mel Kiper. But wouldn't Deion Sanders' kid in Vegas just be fun? Like, get rid of Josh McDaniels. Let's bring in somebody good. And I think the Sanders vibe in Vegas would be oh so much fun. Still not sure he's going to turn pro. I think he could actually go back for one more year. And again, there's a lot of projection involved here anyway. Will Shedeur Sanders turn pro this year? Y for yes, N for no. Go vote at the pinned comment of today's video. This pick via the Texans here for the Arizona Cardinals. I don't know what the overall defensive plan is for this draft. What I mean by that is, who's actually going to be the first defensive player taken? I think that is very much up in the air. I like Kool-Aid McKinstry. Arizona needs some dogs at corner. I like the fit. The Vikings at 7, J.J. McCarthy. If you're drafting top 10, you're probably not going to retain Kirk Cousins. Let's add McCarthy, who I like his play style. I'm higher on him than most. There's still some inconsistencies. That's fine. He's young, hasn't played anybody yet this year. I like the arm talent, the mobility. I think he throws a very pretty catchable football. All kind of awkward, coaching stuff, but I like it a lot. I think the Giants would sprint to the podium here and take Olu Fashanu at number 8. He's a tackle. Kick Evan Neal to guard or put Fashanu at guard, whatever. You need offensive line talent. You should sprint to the podium to get, I think, the best non-Marvin Harrison / quarterback in this year's class. Tennessee, I have been very underwhelmed so far by Andre Dillard. Like Peter Skoronski, seen the occasional flash from Dylan Radin. Maybe it's not done for him yet. You need a tackle. Let's go Joe Alt here out of Notre Dame. I thought he played very well against Ohio State. Brock Bowers. I would love to see Shane Steichen with an elite tight end / also kind of just a slot receiver. Like, you look at what Indy has personnel-wise. They're using Kylan Granson. He's not a bad football player, don't get me wrong. And I like Josh Downs too. But Brock Bowers, you want more playmakers for Anthony Richardson? This is the best one on the board. And tight ends are tough to find in the end, find spots for them. I think Shane Steichen would thrive with Brock Bowers. Today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. They are the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. It's just you against the numbers. You're not battling thousands of other players and pros and sharks. It's just the stat projections. You pick more than or less than on 2 to 6, and you can turn $10 into $250 with just a few taps. Here are my picks. I've got this week. I got a couple different options, the plays, if you will, out there. Dak Prescott, more than 22.9 and a half passing yards. I can go for 250 pretty easily. Derrick Henry, less than 74.5 is way too high. For a guy that's hit that number once so far this year behind a not good Titans offense. And Calvin Ridley, revenge game. Give me the more than 65 and a half against his old team with some not great cornerback play outside of A.J. Terrell. I like the power plays. Get 5X if you hit on all 3. If you don't, you lose. You could also go, the flex play, hit 2 out of 3, and you'll get at least 1.25X your return. You get all 3, you do the flex play, they'll still give you more, 2.25X, but I'm not a coward. I go all in. Folks, go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Links in the comments and the description of today's show. Again, folks, it's prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. The Jets get to keep their first round pick. Yay. How about some tackle help for whoever your quarterback is next year? Amarius Mims, injured right now, but I like him a lot. He could still be a top 10 pick. Patriots, right tackle remains a big fat question mark. Well, there's a replacement. J.C. Latham, who has been good for a not as good as we normally see Bama offensive line. I didn't really know where to go with the Commanders here. I'm not putting any more quarterbacks in round 1. I'll just go best player available. Here's your Montez Sweat replacement. And or maybe you figure out what you're going to do with Chase Young long term. Dallas Turner. A little bit undersized. Not the biggest guy. But he is a very, very talented pass rusher who has really upped his game the past 2 weeks to be a real high-end impact player. So I capped my first-round quarterbacks today at Caleb Williams, Drake May, Quinn Ewers, Shadur Sanders, Jim McCarthy. It's 5. It's a lot. How many quarterbacks end up going in round 1 of the 2024 NFL Draft? Drop that number, 0 to, can't be more than 7, I would think, but sound off right now. Rams, they need more pass rush help. Jared Verse, bigger body than Turner, has been very quiet so far, but still probably would have been a top 20 pick, so I'm not going to freak out quite yet. I don't know if Mike Evans will be back next year in Tampa. Go safety here. I love what Malik Neighbors has done this year. Give me him to the Bucks. And then Denzel Burke. Let's get some more corners, baby. JPJ will be a piece long-term. They need another one long-term. I think Burke has played really well this year. I think he's taken a step forward. I think that's going to continue. So give me Burke in the mid part of round one. He could be a little riser this year. Not far behind him, maybe the most chess pieceable corner. Can play some nickel, can play some outside, can play some safety. Is a prime special teams piece. Cooper DeJean out of Iowa. He's good. He's really, really good. I love picking safeties for Green Bay because Rudy Ford and Darnell Savage, I don't love that much. Cameron Kinchins is a playmaker at the safety spot. Love his fit in Green Bay. They need some more of those on that side of football. Liatu Latu out of UCLA, who's had an awesome year. It's been very quiet for most of the top defensive players. I think Latu is been maybe the most consistently disruptive player in college football this year. He's got 4 sacks, a forced fumble, an INT as well. Only 13 tackles, but he's gotten after quarterbacks this year. Do not sleep on him. The medical has to get cleared. The Jags need a pass rusher, after all. Now, if you have not already, please subscribe to us here at Chat Sports. YouTube.com/ChatSportsTV. Free videos when you hit that sub button. Yeah, the Trey Flowers experiment is not working in Atlanta. Let's try somebody else. How about Kalen King? I assume they'll pay A.J. Terrell long term. If not, hey, some added flexibility for the Falcons. Didn't know where to go for the Saints, frankly. Maybe some rosters will come at the end of the year with cuts and stuff to help make it more obvious. How about J.T. Sanders? Jimmy Graham touchdowns in 2023 are fun, but also they should not be happening in 2023 for your team. Here's a playmaker at tight end. Emeka Egbuka out of Ohio State. This is we didn't want to pay T. Higgins $25 million, so we flipped him for a pick and drafted a new elite number 2 to keep our passing offense going on all cylinders. Not the funnest outcome, but losing Higgins, but it actually might be feasible this year for Cincinnati. Who is your favorite 2024 NFL draft prospect? Not the best necessarily, just your favorite. Let me know in the comments section. Drazan Newton next up here out of Illinois to Seattle. Let's get some disruption, some playmaking on the interior of that D-line, both for Seattle and for Houston. Leonard Taylor III out of Miami. He's a very good football player, folks. Trust me on that one. I like what he offers. Houston, they need that 3 technique now for D'Amico Ryans, that interior presence. Maybe Taylor be the guy. By the way, very good tackle class, both DT and OT. More corner help for Baltimore. Nate Wiggins. I like his game. He looks like a lanky, long, athletic outside corner. I think he's a very good shot at being a first-round pick this year. Newcomer in our mock draft to the Detroit Lions, T'Vondre Sweat. He's really taken a step forward this year. Really great numbers across the board from just a disruption standpoint. Love his fit along the Lions front. Can still keep Hutchinson as an interior rusher too, but Sweat would help. Keon Coleman to the Bills. Gabe Davis is Gabe Davis. You're using some more two-tight end sets. That's fine. Keon Coleman as a big body threat. I love that for Josh Allen. I went Patrick Paul here for Houston. Do make note, not the same Houston lineman that puked everywhere in the game. I'm sure you saw the viral clip. Not that one. The other one. He's really good though, and I think just as we've seen, when in doubt, give the Cowboys a first-round pick on the offensive line. They'll normally hit it. Let's get the Chiefs another receiver because it's not worked out so far yet. Rome Odunze out of Washington. They got some awesome playmakers. The Huskies do. They've got 3 draftable receivers right now. That's Ohio State stuff. I love what Odunze offers as a bigger threat. Chop Robinson finally got going last week. He's been very quiet before that. I've been underwhelmed by him. But a big game, local kid. You're not going to keep Brandon Graham forever. You have some good pass rushers. The Eagles love premium players, like position players, edges, receivers, corners. Edge there and Chop Robinson. McKinley Jackson to the Dolphins. There's kind of your Raekwon Davis nose guard replacement. Don't sleep on McKinley Jackson. My guy Dalton Miller loves him. And I understand why. He also was the first one to tell me that Aleem McNeil was going to be good. And Aleem McNeil's really good. The Niners, I went with Graham Barton. I might regret that, come April of he was a day 2 pick, or maybe Cooper Beebe. But I do want to get some more O-line help for San Francisco because Trent Williams, as great as he is, simply can't play forever. So who did I leave out of my 2024 NFL mock draft? A lot of players I know, and I want to hear from you guys in the comments section right now. Some names to consider. I wanted to find a spot for Kalen Bullock. I actually had him in there, and then I flipped it to get the other receiver in, so it didn't quite work out time-wise. He'd be 33. Love his game at USC right now. Tyler Nubin's played great. Other edges, D linemen. Princely from Florida has been really impactful. There's some buzz on Braylon Trice. Not as high on him. Chris Jenkins is part of a Michigan team's going to have 10 draft picks this year. It's kind of insane. Xavier Worthy's got some speed on the outside. I think he's a better player for now than A.D. Mitchell. Josh Newton could be a first-round pick. Barrett Carter, I think, is a top off-ball linebacker, but I don't love that class for now. Someone might emerge. Slower starts for both Mason Smith and JT Tuimaloau. Some inconsistencies there from JT still. There's talent, but I got to see more of it as we get further and further along into projections. All right, the pin poll today. Should the Vikings trade Kirk Cousins? Y for yes, N for no in the comments. 67% saying yes. Would you trade him, Producer Chris?
I mean, at this point, you might as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not like I agree with you. I think Cousins gets too much flack. I think he's good. He kind of flops every now and then. But who kind of doesn't? You only got a handful of quarterbacks. Even Patrick Mahomes plays like crap every now and then. 1-2 games a season. He's not very good either. Not saying Kirk Cousins is that. But, what are you going to do? What are you going to do at this point with him? Move on. I like the move to the Jets. It's an upgrade. Yeah. But at the same time, when Rodgers comes back next year, what do you do there?
He's a free agent.
Oh, there you go.
So you would just let him leave. That's why I think it makes so much sense
there you go.
For New York. Short-term solution, get him out of the way long-term. You get a comp pick back for him too, probably.
And how many weeks also is it going to take for him to learn the playbook and actually start contributing?
At the level you'd want, probably at least a few weeks. Now, Cousins is a pretty smart guy, so it wouldn't take too long, but you do have to factor that in.
Yeah.
That's why you got to make a move sooner than later, before the season's over. All right, 67% say yes. Rashard was asking about Travis Hunter, not draft eligible this year. Next year, we'll get to do is he a receiver or a corner? Where do you play him? We'll do that a lot. By the way, the answer's both. Let him play both. He's awesome at it. That's next year. That's next year. That's absolutely next year. All right, if you haven't already, we're 51 subs away from 343K right here on the channel. Hit that sub button. My guy Tyler Jones will be live for you guys on Thursday. We'll have daily videos throughout the week as well. Try to keep mixing in some red zone action throughout the season too. Hit that sub button, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.